Today we will cover this topic on data. This is also covered under the module 1, that is introductory part of your syllabus. We will cover these three topics basically, that is data objects and attribute types. How many types of data are possible, what are the different kinds of data which we can process and then use for mining, right? Then some basic statistical descriptions of data, means we will learn very few statistical tools that will be enough for our syllabus. So we are not going to get into the details of the statistical approaches, but we need to know how to use this kind of statistical operations available, and that will help us in pre-processing of data. Okay, then measuring data similarity and dissimilarity. So mainly we will stick to this dissimilarity part. We will learn from few techniques which helps in measuring the dissimilarity of data, and again we will see one concept of data similarity as well. We will learn that two topic as well. So to begin with this lecture, we will see what a record is. Right, so there may be various type of data sets available. Using those we can whatever the kind of data sets available on which we are going to apply our data mining, right? So what are the different data forms which we may encounter during the mining of data, right? So we have to know them before going to the details. Record is one of the kind of data sets available. We have learned about relational records, right? And we can store record using a relational database as well. There we have seen the concept of rows or say tuple attributes and all, and there we can use that table like structure to store different data, and those are termed as records, right? Then another one present is data matrix. We will see some data matrix in the next lecture. In this data lecture not only, but that will be covered in the next lecture. We will see there what data matrix is. Then document data we know there may be text documents, there may be term frequency vectors. Term frequency vectors are you can see this one, whatever is shared here. You can see that for document 1, document 2 and document 3 we have fetched out few words, right? One is say team, next is say coach, then play, ball, score, game, in this fashion. And these digits, that document 1, and there it is 3 is written in the box of team. That means in document 1 the occurrence of team word is thrice, right? So this is term frequency vector. Vector means this total row, that is 3 0 5 0 2 6 0 2 0 2 will be the term frequency vector for document 1. You can see here the words are fixed for all the 3 documents. That means that team, coach, play, ball, etc., whatever the words are there, we are finding out the frequencies of their occurrences for 3 documents, right? So whenever we are going to find out the document vector, term frequency vector for each document, that first frequency will definitely map to team for all the 3 documents, second will be mapped to coach for all the 3 documents, and so on, right? So this total tuple will be treated as a term frequency vector. Then there can be transaction data. The transaction data can be in a particular format. You can see here that this TID, right? So this transaction ID, if I define it as transaction ID, it consists of, means do not get confused that why we are writing this bread, coke, milk and all. So here what we are trying to say is that in this total data set we are depicting each row, it may consist of any number of items, right? You can see in the first one there are 3 items, in the second there are 2 items, and each of them are associated to each ID. So if we just can put off the ID, it is nothing that we are just using one table like structure and each row is associated with one ID. So one ID will represent the total row whatever the items are present there. Fine. So transaction data can be many things, and it can be any transaction. Say we are performing any banking transaction, we are say transferring some means say there can be, say we are placing one order, right? That can be treated as transaction as well. So whatever the form it may be, it may get stored in any of the form. So this is one of the representation. It may differ with the whatever the softwares or whatever the approaches that particular area is using. Okay. Next, other than record, there can be graph and network type of data sets. It mainly covers of whatever the data we are generating from World Wide Web. It cannot be said so simply, right? So World Wide Web can generate many forms of data, so that too will be transferred to, it may get stored in form of relational records. They may use data matrix as well. So this is a area from which we can get data, right? Then social or information networks, and in case of this WWW or social networks or say molecular structures, we mainly use graph to represent the total data set as well. Okay, so then to treat the graph, again we need some statistical tool to represent the whatever the data we are collecting in a graph structure. That too has to be represented using some other tool. But for the sake of simplicity, we will just learn that what are the areas from where we are just collecting different kinds of data. Next, another type of data is ordered, right? Just see here, first example is video data. So video data, it is consisting of similar ordered type of data, right? It is nothing but sequence of images. I'm not talking of the audio part, just to focus on the video area only. It just consists of sequence of images, and that is the data part only. Temporal data means time, based on time series. Okay, so these are the ordered, this comes under the ordered set. Then spatial, image and multimedia. So multimedia may consist of video data, multimedia may consist of audio, multimedia may consist of image, and so on and so forth. Okay, so these are the types of data sets available. Next, we have to know that whether my data mining is capable of working on all of the data sets or not. Okay, next we will see this one, that is important characteristics. Okay, first one is dimensionality, then sparsity, then resolution, then distribution. For now we are going to focus mainly on dimensionality. You can see here that cards of dimensionality. What is the meaning of it? Whenever we are going to represent a particular record having so many dimensions, okay, say whenever we are treating our data with respect to many attributes, right? So so what happening here? So whenever we are trying to match a particular record with other, we have to compare with the respect of all kind of dimensions which all two data set are having with them, right? So this becomes sometimes we also incorporate some dimensions into that data record that are not so much useful. So if we could discard the dimension of that particular record, it may be helpful for us. Okay, so cards of dimensionality means sometimes there may be some dimensions of that data which are not useful, but they are playing a major role in taking the decision. Okay, so that becomes the curse of dimensionality. So whenever we will proceed on with this lecture series, you will see that this curse of dimensionality is playing a major role. Okay, so we need to learn how to reduce the number of dimensions to represent a data. We will learn some dimensionality reduction techniques. Fine. So fine. So then the next one is sparsity, and here only the presence of counts. We are not going to learn details of the sparsity, resolution, and this two part. Then distribution, we will learn some central in this lecture only. Okay, so we will learn this mainly. We are going to focus on this dimensionality part in our later on lecture series. So now if we have to define these data objects, so we know data sets are made up of data objects only, and data object is what it represents an entity, right? So data sets are what? It is a collection of different data objects, and each data object does what? It can represent an entity. Entity means what? A thing which is being represented using different attributes. So that becomes a data object, and whenever more than one data objects come to the scenario, total becomes a data set. So if we have to focus on this one, that sales database, it may consist of customer details, store items, sales and all. If we have to focus on medical database, it will consist of details of patients, then treatments, or sometimes okay, this is a medical database only, so we are just focusing on the patient part, we are not going to the medical expert part. Then university database may consist of this or many more, right? Again, if we have to concentrate on the student database, it will have different features of the students. Okay, so these are the some of the examples, and these are the features required to represent an university database as well. And we know that database rows, that is in case of relational database, the rows represent what? The database objects, and columns represent the attributes. Okay, so each row total, sometimes we call them as record, or sometime as data objects. The meaning is same, and that data object is being represented or is described by the attributes. Now we will see the attributes. We know that what an attribute is, we have learnt in database management system as well. So for now, say if we consider the any database named say custom, this one, that within the sales database there were one table named customers, and that customer can be defined by three attributes, that is customer ID, name and address. Okay, so this can be an example. These are the attributes, right? And now you can see that what dimension is. So these attributes are often termed as the dimension. So if we have to represent one customer, here the three dimensions are enough, right? Now say if we keep on incorporating more dimensions to this one, right? Say we have incorporated the marital status of the customer, we have incorporated the highest degree academic qualification of this customer, we can incorporate say which language, in which is the mother tongue of this customer, again we can incorporate what is the height of the customer, right? So many. But whenever we are trying to use this customer database for the sales purpose, right? So for the sales purpose, what we are saying that for this particular product, how many customers has purchased this product, right? So are all those features required, that what is the height of the customer, what is the marital status of the customer, what is the highest qualification of the customer? Sometimes this will become that this data record will be overburdened with this, adding this kind of attribute or increasing the number of dimensions. So if we just have to say we want to we are finding out the customers who have purchased the maximum amount of items in this financial year. So if we can just find out the total transaction history or the total amount of the products a customer has purchased, so we want to give some offer to that, or give some discount for a particular product to that customer to increase our sale, then we can keep their phone number or email address, right, that will be enough to work on with this kind of approach. So based on the whatever the scenario we are working on, our dimensions should be coin shaped only. We cannot increase the number of dimensions as we wish to. Fine. Now here you can see there are different types of attributes present. One is nominal, binary, then quantitative. It may be interval scaled or ratio scaled. So we will see one by one what are those. You can see here nominal means what? Categories, states or name of things. Okay, you can see here if we have to focus on this category, so marital status can be an example. Okay, some may fall under merit category, some may fall under unmarried category, some may fall under divorced category or whatever. Okay, but if we have to focus on this hair color, you cannot just categorize them. It can be any number. Okay, it can be black, it can be brown, it can be gray, it can be red, it can be white. So this falls under the name of things. Okay, then say zip codes. Okay. Zip codes means the pin code of that area, so it can be anything. Obviously it should be a valid pin, and say we are restricting it to be the pin of any city or any state of India. Okay, it should be within the state of it should be within India. Okay, we are not going to consider any other country here. So we are putting a restriction again. This zip code can be one nominal type of attribute. Now if we have to focus on this binary, then it's a kind of nominal attribute definitely, but it will stick to two states. We know, since the name itself is enough to describe this one, right? So it will have only two states, that 0 and 1. Say we are trying to find out that whether this patient is COVID positive or not. So whenever this positive results come out, we are putting 1 to it. Whenever negative results are coming out, we are putting 0 to it. So it will become a nominal attribute. Okay. Then the symmetric binary means both the outcomes are equally important. Say here we are trying to map our gender attribute with the help of binary attribute. We are just considering two genders, that is female and male. So here you can see symmetric binary attribute means both the cases are equally important, that we will consider only the females, not the males. This is not the scenario, but both the outcomes are equally important. But in case of asymmetric binary, you can see here, as I was giving the example of being COVID positive and negative, are both the outcomes equally important? No, right? So why we are means just doing this test. If a patient is COVID positive, we have to take some action, but if a patient is COVID negative, we have to take no action. So here being positive is more important than the negative part, right? So this is asymmetric binary attribute. Then ordinal. Here the values have a meaningful order or ranking. You can see here, say we want to find a perfect garment for us. Right, so here we know there are various sizes of the garments available. It can be XS, it can be S, it can be medium, it can be large, it can be XL, it can be double XL, right? So you can see here it is following a pattern, or it is following a ranking, it is following a grading, or whatever you say. Okay, another example can be, say if you score between 91 to 100, you will be graded with A. If you score between 81 to 90, you will have B grade. So this comes under ordinal type of attributes. These are few examples. Now we have learned these two types as well, that is interval and ratio. Interval means that values have order or equal sized unit, right? It may be calendar dates, right? It can be a temperature in centigrade or Fahrenheit. Means say if the temperature is between this Fahrenheit to that Fahrenheit, then say we will say okay, normal temperature, right? Then if it is between this to this, we will say no, the temperature is higher or lower, in this fashion. Now ratio means, if we speak like this, the magnitude larger than the unit of the measurement. Say we are keeping one benchmark and we are representing all whatever the other outcomes are coming with the help of that benchmark. Here you can say 10 Kelvin is twice as high as 5 Kelvin, right? So 5 Kelvin is our benchmark. So whenever the 10 is coming, we are just finding out the ratio of it with respect to this 5 Kelvin. So it is becoming twice. If 15 comes, we will say thrice. In this fashion, this is called the ratio. Now this is very important part. Whenever we will move to our module 3 part, this discrete type of attribute, continuous type of attribute will play a major role. Okay, discrete attributes are what you can define. Whenever you can define a set that is discrete, you can see here the examples like zip codes. Okay, it may seem like infinite, but it's countable, right? So if we have to jot down whatever the pins available in India, we can jot it down. We know what are the pins available in India. So this set is defined set or a finite set, right? These are called discrete attributes. You can also say that binary attributes are also part of, or a very small subset of discrete attribute, where only the 0 and 1 values are allowed. But in case of continuous attribute, we have to work on with all the real numbers available, say temperature, height, weight. You cannot say that whenever say we are finding out the weights of all the persons, or 1000 persons living in a particular area, you cannot restrict that set, that everyone's weight will be in this set, will lie in this set only. It can have any real values. Okay, so that are called continuous attributes. Fine. Next we will see this one, that basic statistical description of data. So what are the need of it? So to better understand the data, we will learn what central tendency is, what's variation, and mainly we are going to focus on this part which is marked in bold, that is we will learn what median is. Okay, before that we will learn mean and what are outliers, what are variance. So we need this to learn our to cover our syllabus. So we will mainly focus on this part. We will learn one by one. Now we are trying to measure the central tendency. That is our motive. Okay. So central tendency means what? So we will use the total data set to come up to a conclusion. How this data set are working, what is the basic feature we can extract from a particular data set. So to find out that central tendency, to measure that central tendency, there are different kinds of tools available, or different kind of statistical approaches available. We'll learn a few of them. Okay, first we will learn what a mean is. Okay, we know we have learned what mean is, still we will learn it again. Say we are having I number of data objects, those are represented using xi. Okay, and the total sample size is n. So if we have to find out the mean of anything, we will do what? We will just add up all the values and will divide it with the total values. But you can see here, is it really effective? I don't think so, because you can see here, there in a data set there can be any, there can be data falling in any range. Say if we have to find out the central tendency of a particular data set, okay, so it can be like that some data may be out of range. Okay, so there is a sample of data where it is starting from 1 and is ranging up to 50 with say more or less equal gapping, but there is one more data whose value is 100. So you can see here that 100 totally falls out of these groups, which we will call as outliers. Okay, and again we are also considering that 100 value to find out the mean of it. So it is not so much useful. Okay, and another one is there, that is called weighted arithmetic mean. Still it holds a better meaning with respect, if we consider it with respect to the previous one. Here we will associate weight to each of the data object present. That means which data object is more important, we will assign more weight to it. The data object which is less important, we will assign lesser weight to it. So this can be another approach. Now this trimmed mean is much better than the previous two. Trimmed mean does what? The chances for which I was talking about in case of this mean that there can be the values which say the extreme right value is falling in a different angle. Okay, so it is not within the group, it is varying with a huge range with the all the other data present in that set. So we will trim the extreme values. That means the smallest value in the total data set, we will trim it off, and we will again trim the extreme values, right, the highest value in the data set. So after trimming, we will just perform in the same manner. So this can be one approach as well, but a better approach is definitely to find out the median of total data set. Median does what? The first job of median is to find out the middle value of the total data set. Now you will say, if there are odd number of values present, okay, we can find out the middle. But if the number of data values are even, then how to find out the middle? In some opinion, it says take any one of the two. Sometimes we find out the average of these two and use that value instead of the any of the two middle values. Okay, I think this one is a better approach. Instead of choosing any one of the two values lying in the middle range, if the total number of data objects are even, it is better to find out the average of that two values and find out the middle. Okay, now you can see we can use this formula of median to find out this one. Okay, so we can, using that part, that finding out the average of these two middle values, we can find out what the middle value is, and we have to consider the frequency of those values as well, which is lying in the denominator of the formula. So here L1 is the lower boundary of the median interval. Median interval means the total range or total band with which we are working. The lower value is considered under L1. N is the total number of values in the data set present, right, and we are dividing it by 2. Then the entire data set, this frequency of L is the sum of the frequencies of all the intervals that are lower than the median interval. So median interval is what? So after finding out the median value, it will lie in some range. You can see here there are various ranges given, 1 to 5, 6 to 15, 16 to 20. So median value, that is the middle value, will fall in some range, right? So here we will consider the frequencies of those which, wherever my median value is lying in that range, the range is smaller to it, we will consider those. Okay, and frequency of median is the frequency of the median interval and the width of the median interval. So here if my say median falls in the area, let us say within 21 to 50, okay, so the frequency, corresponding frequency will be 1500, and width of the median is from 21 to 50, whatever the value is, that what is the width, we will consider that. So in this fashion we can calculate the median, and it's a bit definitely a better approach than calculating the mean of the total data set. It is better to use this median. Okay, another way of finding or measuring the central tendency is called mode, and it is based on this formula. Okay, now you can see there are 3 types of mode present, that is unimodal, bimodal and trimodal. That mode mainly is what? The value that occurs most frequently in the data. Okay, so there, if there is only one value that is occurring most frequently in the data, that is called unimodal. If there are 2 values that is occurring more frequently, that will come under bimodal, and if it is 3, that will come under trimodal. Okay, but we will just learn up to this one. So if we have to work, if you want to work on more with this mean, median, mode and all, I have shared the study notes, study materials with you. You can see different kinds of examples are there, and you can take any data set and try to calculate the median, mode and mean of the data set. Next is this one. You can see there are three different kind of graphs present. One is symmetric, another is positively skewed, another is negatively skewed, and mean, median, and mode are being marked there just to have a feel. We have just incorporated this one. And we will end off this lecture with this much only. In the next class we are going to start with this, that how the dispersion of data are measured. It's a very important part. We will learn few concept of quartiles, then we will learn how to find out the outlier, okay, and how to find out the variance and all. We will proceed with this. Thank you.